Mr. Chaudhary to proceed with the session and make his deliberations.
Well, good afternoon everyone, and first of all I'd like to thank ACAE for having me in this conference. I was asked to speak on emerging role of IU under the code. So I'll first dwell on how the larger ecosystem is evolving, and then I'll dwell on how the IU is playing a role. And let me just state here that it is not just confined to the IBC. It is IBC and beyond. So this chart has been going on social media for some time, and as we all know, India is a global sweet spot as far as economic growth is concerned. And as per this chart, the probability of recession in India is 0. So, what has made this possible? There are 4 drivers of growth which I believe makes this sustainable. I'll dwell first on the physical infrastructure. I came from Bangalore a couple of days back. The new Terminal T2 is opened. It is massive in every sense of the word. And that's not the only one. Delhi Terminal 2, T2 is, T3 is in any case very large, and we have another massive one coming just around 100 kilometers from Delhi. The Jewar International Airport is likely to be inaugurated by 2024. We also have the Goa Airport, which has been inaugurated. We have a Navi Mumbai Airport, which is likely to come up very shortly. We would have seen these massive drone videos of highways coming up. The Bangalore-Mysuru highway, I have travelled and recently come up. So this infrastructure development is happening on a very rapid pace. There are some numbers floating around in social media, and it is said that what is happening in the infrastructure space in the last 10 years has not happened in India in the last 60 years. I don't vouch for this data, but this evidence of this massive infra development is there for us to see. The other pillar of this economic growth is sound banking system. We saw the country's largest lender declare its results yesterday. Massive profits, record profits. All lenders have done well. Is it sustainable? Possibly yes. Today banking is driven by information, it's driven by technology. We believe that this is here to stay. The third pillar is this reforms. First thing which comes to mind is GST. GST is not just about simplification of taxes. It was built on a massive IT infra. So this has a multiplier effect. It has led to formalization, which in turn has led to better credit delivery. We'll dwell upon this in the later slides. And finally, the fourth and possibly the most important pillar, the digital infrastructure. That's what gives us, as a nation, a distinct competitive advantage. So the cornerstone of this digital infrastructure is Aadhaar. Sometime in 2014 it was done. Around that time, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji had this vision. Every Indian should have a bank account. As a banker, I know how difficult it is. KYC, identification. 500 million accounts were opened in the span of a few months. What made it possible? It's Aadhaar, which made digital identification of an individual possible. Another important development, a new service provider came sometime in 15. Mobile usage increased because rates came down. Today, the cost of data in India is possibly among the lowest in the world. Now let's just see some of the important milestones in this journey and where we come in. So I spoke about Aadhaar, I spoke about Jan Dhan, I spoke about mobile penetration. We all know about UPI. It is one area, digital transactions, we have surpassed China. It's unbelievable. In most areas, we are far behind China. But as far as digital transactions are concerned, we have, I repeat, surpassed China. What made it possible? UPI. And UPI would not have been possible without bank account or mobile penetration. I spoke about tax reforms. I referred to GST, but there was another bit of tax reforms regarding direct taxes. Both of them led to formulation of the problem. In fact, GST had a multiplier effect. As I had said earlier, it had an IT base. And it also had a network effect. You have to give the GST of your suppliers. So they were also brought to the formal network. So formalization got a boost. What happened then? Productivity. You would ask how? I'll give an example. In Bangalore, I stay in the Alsur Lake. After my walk, I have a coconut every day. Earlier I used to find there were two guys. One guy used to handle the cash, other guy used to do the coconut. Cash, somebody will give us point note, somebody will give a 2000 rupee note to buy a 25 rupee coconut. So one person had to exclusively handle that. Today he has just a QR code and there's a speaker attached to it. You just swipe the QR code, the speaker speaks out loud what it's about. He is dispensed with one person who's being used productively. So that's productivity for you. That's a simple example. Credit availability. There are some bankers here. Today the most buzzing space in banking is the MSME space. MSMEs have become more creditworthy. How? Because of formalization. Because the credits are visible in the account, you can assess the working capital. But there was a missing link. You assess the credit. How do you disperse it? You ask the poor guy to come to the branch. You tell him, go and get a stamp paper. He will go to the stamp vendor. Stamp vendor says, 4:45, go back, come tomorrow. Tomorrow you go, I don't have stamp paper 100, take 500. And that's where we come in. And that's where you see the green. Launch of DD, our digital execution platform ensures you do not have to run around for stamp paper. It is procured digitally on a real-time basis for any denomination. And you sign only once. You sign only once through the OTP or the DSC. And as a result, what happens? Seamless credit delivery. Economic Survey 2022-23 has a reference to NeSL's DDE. It talks about the various advantages of DDE, which I am going to elaborate in the subsequent slides. But I'll draw your reference to one very important term which has been used in this. The survey uses the word dematerialization. Where does this thus draw its inspiration from? Anyone? Yes? Dematerialization of shares. So NeSL's DD has the potential to revolutionize contract execution, the way share trading changed after dematerialization of shares happened in the 90s. And I'll tell you how in the subsequent slides. But before that, let me tell you about ourselves, because you might think, who is this NeSL wanting to do DD? So NeSL is an information utility. It's the first and only one. It is registered with the IBBI under the provisions of the IBC, and the code has various references to the information utility. And the final point is very important. The code mandates financial creditors to submit information to the IU, and more than 400 lenders are already submitting information to the IU. What is our ownership pattern? We have had 65% public sector owned. These are the shareholders, private banks, public sector banks. Now, this is one slide I would like to dwell in some detail. As an infrastructure provider and as a user of such services like you would like to know what is the supervision and control which is exercised by IBPI or the ecosystem on NeSL. So, of course, as I said, we are a regulated entity of IBPI, like an insolvency professional. So, board can conduct inspection, board does conduct inspection. We have off-site monitoring. We have a monthly meeting. IBPI has issued guidelines on technical standards. There's also independent audit under Regulation 34, which basically looks at all technical aspects. Then as far as our own corporate governance is concerned, we have a governing board, we have our shareholders, we serve our all banks, and our governing board has a managing director, that's myself, independent director, and one important provision which we as a part of good governance have made. We have constituted our governing board to have a technical member as an independent director on a board of directors. We see the third column. We are also subject to CAG audit. Our statutory auditor is appointed by CAG. We have audit of financial statements, also for operations by CAG. And finally, we also have our own independent technology committee, which is comprised of reputed persons. The chairman of a technology committee is also an independent member on our board of directors. Now, this section is about IBC. In the morning, there was a reference to the 4 pillars of IBC, and here it is before you. The 4 pillars. Information utility is a relatively less known pillar, and one of the highlights is that if you see the figure on the right hand side, actually important attributes about ourselves. Whatever we do is time bound. As you know, IBC, every process is time bound. So even our activities are time bound. We are a fully digital repository. And of course, I spoke about governance. We have high standards of governance as provided in the regulations, and even as a matter of good governance. So this is the regulatory environment of IU. We are under the IBC, and we are regulated by IDBI, and we have to comply with the IDBI IU regulations. And of course, as we are a fully digital repository, IDBI has also come out with these detailed guidelines on technical standards. For example, every person who submits information has to be identified. Every information is submitted under digital signature of the person. So whatever information we store in the IU is of evidentiary value. It can be produced in a court of law. So these are the core services which are provided in the code. As I said earlier, we are a digital repository. We only accept electronic submission. Safe and accurate recording of financial information is one of the duties cast on us by the code. We have to get the information authenticated and verified. And of course, we provide information, we provide access to information stored to persons as is specified in the regulations notified by IDBI. The code also defines as to what is financial information. It's the debt of a person, liabilities of a person, assets of a person, default of course, balance sheet and cash flow statements, and other information as may be specified. Now the question might arise as to where the IU gets this information from. As we saw earlier, Section 250 of the code makes it mandatory for financial creditors to submit information to the IU. And Reserve Bank of India, by its circular of 2017, it has advised all its regulated entities to submit information to the IU. Now, RBI followed it up with another letter dated 2019. This letter is similar to the 17 letter, except that this time RBI is stressed on 2 important things. One, even non-fund based limits, information regarding non-funded exposure is also to be submitted to the IU, and information regarding all customer segments is to be submitted to the IU. As you know, only the corporate segment has been notified for the purpose of IBC, except for PG to CD. But as you will see elsewhere, that some of these provisions related to the IU are equally applicable to non-corporates as well. I will elaborate further as to how it could be beneficial even in the non-corporate segment. So these are some of the important provisions. I am basically touching only upon the application on the sections related to application of CIP proceedings, and the code states that code provides that along with the application for initiation of CIP, the record of default of the IU has to be attached. Of course, it also says that other information can also be used. As of date, that is a legal provision. Now, an important amendment was done in the IBC IU regulations, and which is important for us as a stakeholder. It is that before initiation of any application under the IBC, information has to be submitted to the information unit. So this is regulation 21. There is a reference in the code to the record of default. And this record of default helps in admission of an application and a CRP. It gives all the information which the AA requires to decide on whether to admit an application under section 7, 9 or 10. And we'll see what are some of the important provisions. Now, record of default is color coded. Now, IU is a very equitable repository. It gives a debtor an opportunity to dispute a debt or default. So, in case an information is disputed, so then it's marked with the color code of red. And if it is not disputed, it is accepted, then there's a color code of green. And this is only for information of default. Now in the morning we heard from various stakeholders about delays. I think there were discussions on how even admission of application takes substantial time. Now we as stakeholders could help the AA by using or attaching with the application the record of default. The record of default has all the information which is required by the AA to decide on whether to admit or reject an application for CRP. For example, it gives the details of parties connected to a debt. It gives details of all the history of submission made by the financial creditor. It has information of debt and default. It has details of mails and communications sent with the debtor. As I stated earlier, it gives authentication color code. If it's green, it's accepted. If it's red, it's disputed. An important provision is 65B. Anyone is aware of 65B of Indian Evidence Act? No one? No legal provision? You are aware? Thank you. So 65B basically says digital evidence can be accepted only under certain circumstances. So what we are saying is that when we are issuing this ROD, all the conditions required under 65B are applied. So this certificate is embedded in the record of default, is digitally signed by NeSL authorized signatory, so it cannot be forged. When an AA is seeing the record of default, he can be assured it is authentic. It is a one-stop document for the NCLT to ascertain debt, default or dispute. So these are the three things NCLT, the AA is looking at before taking a decision on admission or rejection, and all these are covered in our record of default. So this is a sample of record of default issued by NeSL as an IU. As I stated earlier, it gives all the information which AA requires to decide on an application for initiation of CRP. Now, issue, you may think that how does one access information in the IU? And again, this is one of the unique features that one need not, you can of course register and get this information. But if you are a registered user, you will get email notifications from the information utility on occurrence of certain events. What are those events? There are 3 events on occurrence of which a notification goes by mail to the registered user of the IU. The first is when a default has happened. A default has happened by a debtor to one creditor. But if you are a registered user and after the process of authentication, an email notification goes to all the creditors of the debtor. Similarly, an application is filed by one creditor against a debtor. So if you are a registered user, you will get a mail from the information utility that this application has been filed by such creditor, and you can take steps to protect your interest. Similarly, as you are aware, an IP has to make a public announcement for asking for submission for claims. In case the creditor misses out on this public announcement, if he is registered on the IU, he will get a notification from the IU where a public announcement has been done. Please do submit your claims. So these are the services which we offer. Integration services is what I spoke about earlier. Information services are what you can register, log in and see. And we also have this credit monitoring services. Analytical reports at the macro level are there on our website, so we can have a sense of the general behavior of creditors and debtors over a period of time at a macro level. So one very important judgment in respect of the record of default of the IU was that in the case of process judgment of Honorable Inclat in the matter of Vipul Himanshu, and it states that in case the record of IU showed that there is debt which is in default, A of the applicant appellate authority is not required to further examine whether the record maintained by the IU, most of the record of the IU is deemed to be authenticated, and no dispute or refutation of such records has been done by the CD court. So it just supports the fact that if the ROD is attached with the application, it makes the admission of CRP, admission into CRP that much easier. So it makes the job of the A easier, and it helps the entire ecosystem. So even though it's not mandatory, it's strongly encouraged that this application be attached, this ROD attached along with the application for initiation CRP. On 3rd of April 2023, NCLT has also issued a circular stating that before filing of application section 7 or 9, the creditor shall file the information of default with IU. And it said that petitioners under section 7 and 9 were advised to comply with the same regulations and produce the record of default for effective hearing of the case. Now I was also asked to speak about emerging role of IU in IBC. As you are aware, MCA had come out with this discussion paper, and public comments were called for. And some of the proposals I have just put here, that A, to rely only on the ROD available with the IUs to determine if a default has occurred. ROD of the IU is to be treated as conclusive proof of occurrence of default. And only when the record of default is not available with the IU, the A, on genuine reasons to be shown, may consider other evidence. Finally, in this section, concluding slide of this section, because I recall when these discussions were going on, so there was one debate as to whether the IU has the infrastructure, has the attributes of infrastructure to provide this very important role of giving an ROD which could be used by applications, used by applicants. So IU has the risk management framework. Our executive director, she reports to me. She is also a chief risk officer. We have a policy of non-discrimination. We are also only a custodian of the information, and we also have a preservation policy. So this is one of the very new products which we have done, which we have launched. And I'd just like to quote this, and this was stated by a CEO of a very large digital company. I would not like to take any names here, but I think most of you can guess who is it. You know, he said, the guys at the bank sent me the loan documents for IPO financing, a total of some 200 pages. There were some pages you had to sign multiple times. I could never understand the point of multiple signatures, other than to remind you that taking a loan should not be easy. How many of us have taken a loan here and signed a loan document? So how many times have you signed, sir? 50, 100? So in digital document execution, you sign only once. And after you sign the agreement, did you get a copy of the loan agreement immediately? So in digital document execution of NeSL, you get the copy instantaneously. The moment this document is signed and sealed, you get a copy of the same immediately. And we'll give you some figures to show that this is a movement which is gathering steam. And we as stakeholders should take the benefit of this. So this is how the genesis, one question which might come in your mind as to why the information utility came into this. So this is because proof of debt has to be in case attached along with the application. We had a provision for attaching documents, but banks were having challenges attaching volumes of scanned documents. There were also challenges in submission. So that's why we thought we'd have this, a platform where both the creditor and debtor can sign. And it becomes a source and evidence of the debt, which can be used, one, if you're initiating CRP, and secondly, for any other process. For example, if you are doing a merger acquisition, I think I met one participant here who said he was in merger and acquisitions. So typically, when you are doing due diligence of documents, original documents are usually not shared, only the photocopies are shared. So then you have to scrutinize the documents twice. Photocopied documents are not always very clear. Here, all digital documents are there for you to scrutinize. Only once. And you are assured they are the originals. There is only one original. So these are the benefits. It's the digital stamp, it's the e-sign, and it's also customer delight. Remember, customers otherwise being forced to sign at 40, 50, 200 places. It's there 24/7. Your bank staff is free. Even the customer can execute the document at any point of the day. Secure storage by entity which is regulated under IBC, and of course cost saving. So some of the other benefits I have just enumerated here: no multiple bank visits, no multiple signatures, you sign only once, no hassles of signature mismatch, it's web-based, mobile-friendly. All of us are familiar with social media, we can adopt that very easily. Audit logs are available. No question of somebody saying that I was not there at that point of time. The entire evidence, the log, the audit is maintained. And of course, there are 3 modes of signature: dongle-based e-sign, biometric, or Aadhaar OTP based. There are various benefits of digital signature compared to a physical signature. And if anybody has any doubts, I can elaborate, but I think it's quite self-evident. So these are some of the benefits for every stakeholder. And on the left-hand side, there's a green box. I put it in green because digital document execution is also environment friendly. Till date, we have estimated that we have saved 5,000 trees, because every document printing means you have to cut a tree. So digital document execution not just is easy to store, easy to retrieve, but it is also environment friendly. Financial creditors, banks benefit, end customers benefit, the governments also benefit. The governments benefit because they get real-time MIS on the stamp duty collections which are happening, which region has more of stamp duty collection, which in turn is a reflection of the level of economic activity in that region. As a regulated entity, we go to a 3-point check before permitting any kind of digital document execution. There's a regulatory check, there's an IT check, and there's an article check. So this is just to reassure all our stakeholders that what we are doing is right. So DD has various security features which are mandated by law, and I think I just have 5 minutes, so I'll just quickly conclude. But before concluding, a couple of things I'd like to stress upon, because I'm in this beautiful and fertile land of Kolkata. So I'd like to give you some statistics related to West Bengal. And of course, I'd like to urge all of you to see how we can make a difference. So as I said, DD is a movement which has been unleashed. You cannot stop it. It's like a genie out of the can. And can anyone see where does West Bengal stand? Where does West Bengal stand? Anyone? Where does West Bengal stand? And where is not yet bottom, near bottom. So number 1 state is UP, number 2 is Rajasthan, and so on. But this is the urge to all of you. Please, you can make a difference. If you are a bank, most of your offices in other parts of the country have implemented it. If you are a customer, please demand it from your bank. As I said, this is a genie which has been unleashed. You cannot stop it. It's going to come. So why delay it? So the EBG is another product which is flows out of our DD. Again, I will show you just this, just the West Bengal figures. Slightly better off compared to DD, but if you see the numbers, and incidentally, EBG is a more recent phenomenon. It's just launched around 6 months back. So again, West Bengal needs to do more. I would love West Bengal to do more. I keep coming back to this beautiful city, and I hope when I come back next time, so numbers will improve. But it is incumbent on all of us. It is we as a people, as a resident of this beautiful city, it is we have to do this. So one last concluding slide. This is the last concluding slide. We saw yesterday SBI had very good results. All banks have shown beautiful results. All banks have shown very little defaults, NPAs. But if you see this data, if you see the last column, there are around 15,000 debtors who have defaulted, but they have not defaulted to banks. Because today, if you default to a bank, it's reported to PILC, it comes in public domain. So there are a lot of implications. But if you see, there are 15,000 debtors who have defaulted, but they have banking limits with the banks, but they have defaulted to others. Who would have defaulted? I think there was a reference to MSMEs. They don't get paid on time. So these are the defaults which have happened. And why I am telling you this? Because for every default, we give a default alert. And this is for the month of March. So in the month of March, we have issued default alerts of around 78,000. And all these alerts have gone to banks that your debtor has not defaulted to you, but it has defaulted to some other person. It could be a private financial creditor, it could be an operational creditor, it could be an NBFC. So it's just an alert to you. Please take care, please protect your interest. In the morning also there was a reference that generally there is a delay in the initiation of CIRP. So this is a warning to you. A default has been done by your debtor, not to you, but to some other creditor. Please do take care, review your exposure. If necessary, take steps to protect your interest, maybe even initiate CIRP.
Okay, what is the process of getting a registered individual?
So, it's very simple. Idea is only to identify a person. And remember, IU is a very equitable in the sense that any creditor can submit information. If you are a private creditor, if you are an operational creditor, you can submit information. The only requirement is registration, which involves identification.
It cannot be an individual who is not a financial.
Individual can also be a. If you see some of the alerts have even gone to individuals.
And if I want form number D to be downloaded for any party, it can be done.
Which one?
Form number D.
Record of default. So there's a procedure for issuance of record of default. You have to file the information of default, and the information has to be authenticated. After the process of authentication, you can default it yourself. It is not a public document. No. Default is a very sensitive issue.
This record of default which is maintained by the NCE government from which period?
See, record of default is maintained. IU maintains all records till the closure of the account. But in respect of the same date, once the information gets updated, so a fresh record of default is issued. But that record of default has the prior credit history also. So the entire history is maintained.
Since which year you have been maintaining?
Since 2018.
2018.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, as a RP, I am your customer. As a RP, I am your customer, so I am looking for my own delight. Meaning that today, during the process of CIRP, we have to file multiple forms, reports to IPAs, to IBPI. Can all these be integrated in one so that we can save time in filling those forms, same information multiple times, to multiple people? So can you give us some comfort?
I can give you lots of comfort. In fact, this gives me an opportunity to address an issue which was raised earlier. Somebody said here, a working day, IP does not have a holiday. We have a platform which sets the IP free. I was earlier in IBC, and during the period of COVID, we found that we could not conduct inspection of IPs because they said, my office is in a lockdown area. So my solution to you is, there's something called a platform for distressed assets. Platform for distressed assets. You can contact me later. If you are not aware, we can let you know. Platform for distressed assets is an end-to-end solution. If you're an operational character, you can even use it for sending the demand notice prior to initiation of application under Section 9. It's an end-to-end process. It provides and generates all the forms and reports required. The only challenge today is that it is not integrated with the IBC, because that's something the regulator has not yet permitted. That's something you have to take up with the IBC. But as of now, entire forms, reports can be generated through this platform for distressed assets. And also to answer this earlier gentleman, I think is not there, it sets the IP free. You need not be discount, you need not debound your room, you can access the platform from anywhere. You can also authorize your representative to access the data and have a full audit trail. There are many IPs who use email for communication of sensitive data like valuation reports, but they are risked in that. If you use a platform for distressed assets, sensitive information like valuation report, resolution plans, they can be uploaded directly onto the platform. See, tomorrow there's an allegation that valuation report has got, somebody else has got access to the valuation report. If you are there on the platform, you can say that this was accessed on so-and-so date and this is the audit trail. So you have a full audit trail of the entire history of the document, who has accessed it. So you can prove that the valuation report has not fallen into the hands of an unauthorized person. Similarly for resolution plans.
Hello. Hello. Suppose we registered some unsecured private loan with NeSL. Will the law of limitation apply to it? I mean, will it get time card after 3 years?
All provisions of law will of course be applicable. It doesn't mean that the provisions of law will not be applicable. Of course it will be covered.
It is also an acknowledgement of late card.
See, there are two parts to it. Now, the issue is whether when a person acknowledges a debt, when the NeSL sends a request for authentication, can it be treated as acknowledgement of debt? So that has not been established as of now. No, it has not been established as of now. There could be a case for it. Because whatever information which is submitted, whatever information which the debtor gives, even the confirmation of debt, that happens through digital signature. So there could be a case for it, but it's yet to be established.
Sir, as an RP during the CRP process, when we get the resolution plan or when we check for a fraudulent transaction, an avoidance transaction, so as an RP, we should get free access to the NSA, not free means free-based maybe, but that the information should be available to the RP because it will be very easier while they do 29-day check, maybe during the forensic audit, maybe during the other process. I think right now it is not available, and it is very important that when we talk about IBC and the information is not available to the RP, then so that
information are you?
Information about any. Suppose now I have a XYZ company as a resolution applicant. Now to see whether that resolution applicant has ever defaulted or any record is there with the IU, I do not have access to the NSA. How that can be done?
Can be done. I tell you it can be done. You see, the way the access system works, access is to the debtor whose information is there, to the creditors, to the debt. But there is a third interesting provision. Any other person whom the CD authorizes. So if I were the IP in your place, I will tell the resolution applicant, I want to see your information in the IU. Please authorize me. You take the authority letter and come to me. I will give you access.
The problem is not the one layer. You see, problem is at the third layer, fourth layer, or fifth layer.
That is what
That should be available.
So in that case, you have to get the authority from that person, that second person or third person. So the way our access works is PAN number. You have to give the PAN number. You have to take this approved for access and give it access.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. We have come